Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I'm going to start a series of James Bond trivia. My first video about James Bond will be Dr. No trivia. I hope you enjoy it and like the video. Like and comment and subscribe. Here we go. Sean Connery was fitted with a toupee for this film. He had started losing his hair when he was 17 and began wearing an hairpiece in films in 1958. From Goldfinger onwards he wore a full wig. In this film he wore a dry toupee and a wet toupee for when he was in the water. I don't know how his wig stayed on. It must have been glued on. Sean Connery was afraid of spiders. Well, I am really. I don't like them. The shot of the spider in his bed was done with a sheet of glass between him and the spider. Well, you can see the glass when the spider's crawling over it, which can be seen in one shot in the movie. It doesn't look real. This didn't look realistic enough, and the close-up scenes were reshot with stuntman Bob Simmons reported that the tarantula crawling over Bond was the scariest stunt he ever performed. As detailed as Dr. No's underwater layer was, one of the vital elements was nearly forgotten: the background plates of fish swimming in the sea to be added to the thick glass window. Necessarily, the film was quickly found among library footage the day before the scene was filmed, when it turned out the footage featured extreme close-ups of fish. It was decided to have Dr. No explain the window works as a magnifying glass. Ian Fleming didn't want Sean Connery to be James Bond. His first choice was Cary Grant. I couldn't see Cary Grant carrying a James Bond film off like that. Also under consideration, I think, was James Mason. That wouldn't have worked either. But in the end, they settled on Sean Connery, and as they say, the rest is history. According to Lois Maxwell, Ursula Andress made quite an impression at the wrap party. At the party she danced with all the crew, and she was the first grown woman I'd ever known who didn't wear a bra. As she danced, these wonderful were just swaying. I remember thinking how marvellous must be to uninhibited, and I wanted to throw my bra off, but I didn't have the courage. That's according to Lois Maxwell. Maurice Bender designed the gun barrel opening at the last minute by pointing a pinhole camera through a real gun barrel. The actor in the sequence was not Sean Connery, but stuntman Bob Simmons. Connery didn't film the sequence until Thunderball in 1965. After the viewing this movie, James Bond creator Ian Fleming reportedly described it as being dreadful, simply dreadful. During the initial briefing, M says he recently was put in charge of MI7. Then Bernard Lee originally said MI6 but during the take, but he has since been overdubbed, possibly for fear of offending the real-life organisation. In the later Bond movies, however, 007 clearly works for MI6. Ian Fleming didn't originally like casting of Sean Connery as James Bond. Bond was English and Connery was Scottish. Bond was from a upper class background and Connery came from a working class background. Bond was refined and educated, and Connery was too rugged. After seeing this movie, Fleming softened and decided that Connery was perfectly cast. In the novel, on Her Majesty's Secret Service, Bond revealed to have a Scottish ancestry, and Bond's girlfriend, Tracy, was described with details. The first scene Sean Connery filmed as James Bond in the sequence in Kingston Airport. When he passes a female photographer, he holds his hat up in front of his face. The filming date was on January the 16th, 1962. So Sean Connery won the role of James Bond after producer Albert R. Broccoli attending the screening of Darby Old Girl and The Little People in 1959. He was particularly impressed with the first fight Connery has with a village bully at the climax of the movie. Broccoli later told his wife Diana Broccoli, "See, the movie confirms his sex appeal." Still, for public purposes, there was a contest to find the perfect man to play James Bond. 6 finalists were chosen and on-screen tested by Albert R. Broccoli, Albert and Ian Fleming. The winner was Peter Anthony, who looked the part but completely lacked the acting technique to play it. Reminds you of George Lazenby, doesn't it? He didn't have much acting experience when he made On Her Majesty's Secret Service. They dropped a clanger there. The armourer who gives Bond his Walter PPK at the start of the movie is Major Boothroyd, who in the next movie, From Russia with Love, 1963, was played by Desmond Llewellyn. The beginning with Goldfinger, and armourer would forever be known as Q. Character of Boothroyd first appeared in Ian Fleming's original Dr. No novel. He was named Geoffrey Boothroyd, who wrote to Fleming complaining about Bond's use of the Beretta in the early Bond books, not recommending Bond use a Walter PPK instead. In the real life, Boothroyd appears in a vintage, including the Blu-ray, demonstrating. Well, that's all. Skip that. How far am I going? Oh, 8 minutes. By Savile Row Taylor and Ken Adams was so impressed by Stanley Kubrick that he hired the following year to produce Dr. Strangelove, or Our Life Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Author Ian Fleming wanted his cousin, Christopher Lee, to play the role of Dr. No. And of course, Christopher Lee appeared as Scaramanga in the Bond movie, The Man with the Golden Gun. He would play Dr. Fu Manchu. Well, if they tried to make the Dr. Fu Manchu movie today, I don't think they'll ever be made. Because of all this woke nonsense we have at the moment in the world. Which has the character to create Dr. No in several movies. Fleming asked Noel Coward to play the part of Dr. No. Coward turned the part down by replying with a telegram that read, "Dr. No, 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 no." One of Coward's objections was having to wear metal hands. Max van Sydow turned down the part in order to play Jesus Christ in the greatest story ever told. He would play a Bond villain in Never Say Never Again, which was one of the worst Bond villains I ever saw. In fact, that film, Never Say Never, was not a James Bond film at all. Less said about that, the better. Although there are persistent rumours that Ursula Andress was naked in the shower to clean her of radiation, closer inspection reveals that she is wearing a nude coloured one-piece swimsuit. Only Rider emerging from the sea is one of the most iconic scenes in the James Bond franchise. The studio's Japanese original translated, the title was "We Don't Want Doctors." That's a funny, don't know, that would have been a funny one, wouldn't it? They called the first James Bond film "We Want Doctors." Harry Saltzman and Albert R. Broccoli, the original producers of the James Bond movies, cast Sean Connery because they liked how he was big, tough-looking, and man who nevertheless moved gracefully, like a cat. Producers Harry Saltzman and Albert R. Broccoli were adamant that the movie be directed by an Englishman, someone collected enough to understand the world of 007. Bernard Lee was cast one day before filming started. According to Terence Young, he got the part of him because everyone else was away. And Ursula's Andress dialogue was dubbed. Due to the low budget, only one sound editor was hired. Normally there are two. The producers met Sean Connery, but were dubious as to whether the Scot could play the jet-setting character, as his background was a working-class Scot born in Edinburgh. He dropped out of school at the age of 15, joined the Royal Navy. He had several other positions, including lifeguard, milkman, and former Mr. Universe. Connery's rugged appeal won him the role of James Bond. He often a multi-movie contract with the allowance of being able to pursue other projects out of the Bond franchise. Well, we all know what happened. Sean Connery started to get a little bit fed up with the role. And by You Only Live Twice, well, he'd had enough. He was fed up of being pursued by Japanese photographers when he was in Japan filming You Only Live Twice. Terence Young decided to inject some humour, as he considered that a lot of things in this film were and so on. Played as straight, it would be objectionable, and B, would never get past the censors. But at the moment, we take the Mickey out of the tongue out of cheek, it seems to disarm. United Artists were reportedly not happy with the film and opened it with little publicity, but word of mouth ensured an enormous profit, causing a United Artists to to more than double the budget for the next film, From Russia with Love. First feature film filmed on location in Jamaica, although the production crew was British at the time of filming. Jamaica, part of the West Indies Federation and British Crown colony. Jamaica became from the United Kingdom on August the 6th, 1962, 2 months prior to the release of the movie. Put my glasses straight. 2 weeks before filming was due to start, the part of Honey Rider was still not being cast. The producers then saw a photograph of then an unknown Ursula Andress in a wet t-shirt and offered her the part without ever meeting her. Julie Christie was amongst the cast of Honey Rider, but Howard R. Broccoli reportedly thought they were too small. Owing to a limited wardrobe budget, Lois Maxwell wore her clothes as Miss Moneypenny, as did other actors in smaller parts. Peter Hunt used a novelty editing technique with quick cuts and employing fast motion and sound effects in the action scenes. Hunt said his intention was to move fast and push it along the whole time. The film was filmed between January the 16th, 1962 to March the 30th, 1962. Well, that wasn't very long, was it? That was a short film. January, February, March, 3 months. And I'm surprised they got the film done in those 3 months. In 2019, Cary Grant's daughter, Jennifer Grant, revealed that her father later regretted turning down the role of Bond. I don't think that would have worked, really, at Cary Grant as James Bond. I couldn't see it. I think he just originally wanted to make one movie. Like I said, it wouldn't have worked anyway. The first Bond movie to be broadcast on British television on October the 28th, 1975. For a long time, this film was tied with Goldfinger 1964 as the shortest James Bond movie. The Eon Productions official series was with a running time of 1 hour and 15 minutes. Contrary to popular belief, James Bond, is not the first line, and he says, I admire your courage, miss. Then he'd always sign with his face shown. That was one of the most iconic opening scenes of any film. There is a long-standing rumour that the early drafts of the script, Dr. No, turned out to be a monkey. I'd like to have seen that. When first approached by producers, Albert R. Broccoli and our source screenwriters Wolf Mankiewicz and Richard Maybaum discredited most of the source and wrote a story that with a shipping magnate called Butch Wilde attempting to blow up the Panama Canal. Harry Saltzman obtained the Bond stories from Ian Fleming in early 1961. Not long afterwards, he created Eon Productions, especially to produce the James Bond franchise with Albert R. Broccoli. Sean Connery was originally replaced by James Bond by United studio producer Harry Saltzman of this information. However, United Artists later reconsidered the edition and agreed with the producer's casting choice. Lois Maxwell was intended in line to play the part of Sylvia Trench, but turned it down. She didn't care for the scenes where the only thing Trench wears is one of 007's shirts. Well, I'd like to have seen that. Lois Maxwell wearing a shirt. Patrick McGoohan and Roger Moore among the other considered part of James Bond. Ian Fleming suggested Trevor Howard and Michael Redgrave. Connery was so confused during Dr. No that he named Connery Sean Connery, according to the actress who played Sylvia Trench. The filming the scene where he introduces himself to her he was so nervous he kept fluffing his lines. Now famous line by giving his real name. He came out with another and James Connery. Oh dear. Told take him away for a drink or two to calm his nerves. Well, that's really a rumour that he was nervous saying that line. He had to have a few to drink to say those lines. Although these voices heard earlier, Dr. No doesn't appear until 1 hour and 27 minutes in the movie. A script developed by producer Kevin McClory and screenwriter Jack Whittingham and author Ian Fleming reported titled James Bond Secret Service was really going to be the first James Bond movie. Oh, that wouldn't have sounded right, would it? Calling it the first James Bond movie, that. And of course, we all know what happened. It caused legal problems before any production could begin. Writing and publishing went throughout the book of the movie without consulting the others. Felix Leiter doesn't appear at all in the book. Well, that's the end of my Dr. No trivia. As I said at the beginning, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all again.